or welcome if you're new. My name is Emma and this is Emma's Cottage. In today's tutorial, we are actually going to split it in two parts. So one part is going to be a really cute double-sided sublimation pillow or pillowcase, and the other part is going to be a really cute fleece blanket that we're going to put HTV lettering on. So let's talk about both of them and what you're going to need to follow along. So the first one comes from rtssublimationblanks.com, aka Tamara Tidbits. You guys hear me talk about this company all the time. I'm not an affiliate. I just really like them. They have great customer service, and I've been happy with every single blank or product that I've received from this company. Like I said before, it is a double-sided pillowcase. I want to say off the top of my head, I want to say it was about $5 to $6. I think it's $6 a piece, which honestly is a great deal because it comes pre-made. So you do not have to make this pillow. It is done with a zipper and everything. All you have to do is sublimate on it and sell it or gift it to a friend. I love that it's double-sided. So in today's project, we are actually going to sublimate a big H with Hamilton through the middle on the front. I haven't decided yet, but I may do a family picture on the back. Haven't decided. I may or may not do that. But you could do anything on the back, or you could leave it totally blank. It's up to you. And then in part two is this really cute like fleece-like blanket. I got this from Academy Sports and Outwear, I think is what it's called. For both of these, I will be sure to leave a link in the description below on where you can click and order online. I don't get a kickback on either one of these. It's just when I find a good deal, I want to help spread the word. So with this blanket, it actually is really a good size blanket. I would say it's a great cuddle blanket. You see how big it is, right? I got these for $2.99. What? Really good price. So I may have bought like 15 or 20 of these, I don't know. But I know already at least 8 people that I'm going to be giving these to. So, gifting these to for this Christmas. So it made sense to go ahead and purchase them. And then I thought that I would share with you guys a really cute, crafty gift that I'm going to give to neighbors and friends this holiday season. Just don't forget that this is going to be 2 parts. So of course, the first part's going to be the pillow, and then you'll have to go find the next video, or I'll go ahead and link it up above so that you can watch the second part of us doing HTV on these cute fleece buffalo plaid blankets. If this sounds fun to you, then tag along. Here we are in Cricut Design Space. Quick disclosure, I am a full access member, so I do have access to lots of different fonts, Cricut fonts, and Cricut images that you may not have access to if you are not subscribed to the Cricut membership. And with that said, there's lots of ways around it. You may have a different software program that you use that you may be able to access similar fonts or similar images. You can also go to designbundles.net and type in split letters. And there's so many, especially right now where it says trending. There's a lot of really cute Christmas split letters and fonts that you can choose from if you didn't want to create your own. Now, with that said, if you don't want to create your own, you don't want to learn how I made this, then go ahead and just fast forward, or I should have chapters within this video. You can go ahead and click on the next chapter of where we actually press this image onto our sublimation pillow. Okay, so how did I make this? Well, the first thing we want to do is we want to go and find a wreath. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move these to the side, and we're just going to get started from scratch on a whole new one. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in to 100% and scroll over here. All right, so let's go to the images. We're going to find a Christmas wreath. So now what I do is I grab a shape. I'm going to grab a square. I'm going to unlock the proportions and just kind of hover over the image. I want to make sure that I get as close as I can to the halfway mark. So I'm going to go ahead and send to front so that I can visually see it. Let's slide it down just a tad. I feel like that's really close. I'm going to shift this just a tad, because if you see over here, it looks like that berry would be cut off. So I'm just going to shift it just a tad so that none of those red berries get cut off. And as you can see over on this side, there is 4 different layers to this wreath. And poor Cricut Design Space will not allow me to slice multiple layers. It will only allow me to slice 2 at a time. So if I grab all of them, this slice is not even available, which is super unfortunate. But what we're going to do is I'm going to click on this square, and I'm going to duplicate it multiple times. So there's 4 different layers, so let's duplicate it 3 times so that we've got 4 squares. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all 4 squares by clicking on my shift key, highlighting the 4 squares here on the right, and I'm going to go up here to align, and I'm going to align to top and then align to left. And the reason I'm doing that is because I wanted to do where the dimensions were from the beginning and then just just align it completely to the original one. So again, if I wanted to bring this to the front to make sure that's exactly where I want it, yep, it looks great, right? Now this part can be confusing, so just bear with me, you guys. We're gonna go layer by layer together. If someone has an easier way of doing this, I would love to know, but this is the workaround that I've been able to find. So I'm gonna just go ahead and click on this top wreath. I'm gonna hold down my shift key and grab this top basic cut. That's 2 different layers, so it will allow me to slice. So let's go ahead and slice those. Perfect. I am now done with this slice result. I can go ahead and click on it to make sure it's the right one, and it sure is. I don't need that, it's sliced out. And sometimes it's hard to tell which slice result you want to get rid of. I can see that this is red, but there may be some of you that can't see that. So all you would need to do is just click on the one you think is not correct, use your keyboard, and just go ahead and arrow over. And there I go. With one click, I can see that I'm arrowing over the gray and not the red. So I know that that's the one I want to delete. Now let's say you accidentally selected the wrong layer. Just go hit this back button, and it's going to put it right back where it was, and then you can select the correct layer. But I know that was the right layer, so I'm going to go ahead and click delete. So there we go with the first layer. So now we need to keep going and do these other 3. You can see the new slices are here on top, and anything that says Christmas wreath are the ones we have not done yet. So let's go ahead and grab another basic cut. I'm going to hold down my shift key, another square, and hold down my shift key, and then I'm going to grab the next wreath layer. Let's go ahead and slice. So this one's easy to see. You can see that that is a dark square with holes in it. You could even shift it over a tad to make sure that's the one. Yep, that's the one we want to delete. And then we're looking for the gray one. I can see this is green, and I can see that this is darker. Again, I can just shift it over a tad to make sure. And sure enough, there we go. It's the gray layer. We don't want it. We're going to delete it. And we're going to keep going until all of these have been cut. Let's do it one more time together. Clicking the square, holding the shift key, grabbing the wreath, hitting slice. Getting rid of the one we don't want, and then finding the one we do. Hopefully you guys can see this. This is definitely green. This is definitely gray. But to double check it, just slide it over. You can see we don't want it. Let's delete it. We've got one more left. Okay. Now you're probably going to ask me, Emma, why on earth did you do that? And it's because if I hover over all of these, you can see they're all right there. These are all the lower halves of the wreath. I'm going to go ahead and just highlight all 4 of those, and I'm going to click my arrow key down. So now you can see that that wreath is cut in half. Now, if this was one layer, you could have done this all at once. Or if you have a different software you're using, it probably would have allowed you to do it all at once. But unfortunately, Cricut Design Space will not allow us to do that. Now, one thing I want to change is the layering. So you can see these red dots are behind. I want to make sure I bring them up in front. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to click on this basic cut here. And I want to do it for the upper reds too. And I know that these are both red, so I'm going to click my shift key for both of those. I'm going to right click and do send to front, and watch how these red dots, these red berries, are going to come forward. There you go. So they are now in front. And you can kind of look at the other things and see, okay, was something else supposed to be brought up? I think they actually look okay. So I'm going to leave them right where they're at. So the next thing I need to do, I'm going to highlight all of them, and I'm going to change them from a basic cut to a standard cut. What that's going to do is it's just going to soften up your image. So right now, if you look around all of the edges, they're black. And it's just basically showing you what your cut line would be. Well, we're not cutting this image. We're actually going to print it. So I'm going to hit standard. And there you go. Now you've got a really soft look. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this whole section down here. You can see the 4 different layers all together. I'm going to group them. Now they are all grouped together as one. And if I wanted to minimize them a little bit, I could do that. But that way, if I want to move them to and fro, I absolutely could. I'm going to put them exactly where they were because I want to make sure that we keep the line up the same as the top. Now we need to do the next thing with the top, or the same thing with the top. We're going to grab the whole section. You can see them all here. We're going to group them so that we can move them up and down together. There we go. Now this is where you could try to decide, hey, was I off center of my wreath? I may have been a little off center. And it looks like I may have been a teeny bit off center here. But I'm going to be okay with it. And you can see it's 3.408 and this is 3.2. So I'm off just a tad. But I think it'll be okay. I don't think it'll be too noticeable. So let's grab both of these and I'm going to group them together for now. And I'm going to move them to the side. So now let's go get our text. And we're going to type in the letter M. I'm going to work on an M today. And I'm going to go and change the font. So the font that I used last time, let's see if I can find it. There we go. It's Broom. Or I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but it's B-R-U-M-E. I think this is a font that I probably purchased and downloaded to the computer. I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to change it. Oops, I always do that. I'm going to click on it and change it from a basic cut to a standard. Then I'm going to change it to red. Let's go with that one right there. Super cute, right? Make it a little bit bigger so I can kind of see it a little bit better. I am going to grab another shape. Get a square. I'm going to unlock the proportions. And I'm going to make a really, really thin line. Actually, I did this last time and it didn't work. Let me show you something. If I did a thin line like this, and then I hovered over both, so you've got two cuts. If I did my slice, you would assume that you could freely move the bottom, but it doesn't. All it does is just put a slice right in the middle. So what you have to do, I'm going to go ahead and click the back button. Okay, so what you need to do instead is you would actually need to hover it over half of the letter. So, and this is where you need to pick and choose where you want your letter half to be. And let's bring it to the front so that we can kind of see where I want to cut off my half at. Let's go ahead and do it maybe right about there. I'm going to hover over both of these layers and I'm going to click slice. We can now get rid of this gray layer that we don't need. Here's the red one. I'm going to go ahead and just bring it down a tad. Let's go about right there. Grab the gray one and we're going to hit delete. There you go. Now, what I need to do is grab a shape again. We're going to unlock the proportions, do a skinny red line. Let's go about maybe right there. I like to extend it a little bit further and then just try and make it as much as I can equal on both sides. A lot of times you just have to eyeball it, right? I like the thickness of that. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, duplicate. There we go. I don't know what Design Space is doing. It's just having tantrums. A little bit of tantrum today. Okay. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to bring it down to the letter. You can definitely change these colors. If I highlight both, let's go ahead and just change them to the same color of red. Then what you want to do is you want to grab both of these and we want to weld. And now they're going to be together forever, right? Do the same thing with the lower half. Going to weld. Looks great to me, right? So then this is where we can get the wreath that we cut. And I like the wreath on top, I think is what I did last time. It's completely a personal preference. You guys can pick and choose what you want to do. And this is where you kind of need to play with it a little bit until you get it to where you want it. I like mine so that the top and the bottom line up. If that makes sense. A little bit more. Zoom out just a tad so I can see it. About right there, you guys. And then let's kind of move it. You know what? I almost might change the proportions a tad and make it a little bit longer so that it looks more circular since I didn't cut it right in the middle. Let's do something like that. That's adorable, I think. Yes, I love that. That's super cute. Perfect. Isn't that adorable? And then I'm just going to grab the whole thing and I'm going to group it. So now anybody with the last name that starts with an M, I've got a template for them. Again, if you didn't like it, if you're like, oh, I don't like it, it's not center, we can go ahead and ungroup it. We can grab just the wreath and we could move it back and forth if we needed to. And I agree, I think I need to take it a little bit to the right. I could play with this for hours, you guys. I'm so picky. I'm going to go ahead and group it. There we go. That's good enough for me. So now we need to do our name. So I did a different font for the name. I'm going to go up to text and I'm going to type out the name. The name I'm doing is Macero. Let's change the font. So I'm going to go to font and the one I used, let's see, I typed in the first few letters right here. It's ALIEFBA script. And I'm going to change this to a standard cut. I'm going to change it to black. Then I'm going to bring it over here, make it nice and big. And this is where you kind of get to decide, do you want it to overlap? I really like the overlap look. I think it's adorable, but you guys might not. And maybe you want something nice and small in here and you would just extend the words. But I am not a fan of that. So I'm going to go ahead and click the back button. I'm going to go ahead and just make it nice and big. That might be a little too big. Something like that is what I'm going for. I think that's so cute. I want to make sure that it is center. So I'm going to highlight both. I'm going to do a line and I'm going to do center horizontally. Make sure you're not doing center to this because watch what happens. It's going to move it for the complete center. And sometimes if your center is not completely right, it's going to be way off. So instead, I want to make sure that I center it horizontally. So let's grab the whole thing, align and center horizontally. And there, we are perfect. Turned out absolutely adorable. Now, let me teach you how I print these. Those of you that follow me probably already know what I'm about to do. I go into Microsoft Word. I get a blank document. I am going to lay out. This is every single time I go into Microsoft Word. This is the same thing I do. Sorry, I went really quick. Let me slow down. I go to margins. I go to custom margins here at the bottom. I need to change this top, bottom, left, and right. I go and I click 0, tab, 0, tab, 0, tab, 0. I then click enter. It's going to say, hey, you can't do that. And I'm like, okay, fine, fix it for me. And it's going to change it to the 0.12. Now, could I typed in 0.12? Absolutely, but I'm just really quick and I type 0, tab, 0, tab because I know it's going to fix it for me. Now, why do I do that? You can see here at the top, these are currently the margins, which means nothing is going to print on either side or the top or bottom. So I'm changing that so that the margins are very, very slim. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So now you can see it changed the margins to be very slim. Let me zoom out just a tad so we can see our page. I am going to change the orientation to landscape. I think it'll be easier to see. I'm going to go back to Cricut. You can see the dimensions on this one, and I'm going to write that down so that I don't forget. The dimensions are 9.848 for the width, and it's 3.106 for the height. Okay, so easy enough. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Let's move this out of the way. The reason I make it bigger is just so that you have a clearer design when you're snipping it. Go back to your insert, go back to your screenshot. We're going to do screen clipping. And then again, you want to try and get as close as you can to the word. About right there, I'm happy with. We're going to click this little box and then this one here in the middle. That way we can move it around. Make it a little bit bigger so we can see it a little bit better because I want to bring this line down a tad. So let's go to crop. We're going to bring this down as close as we can to the top of that M. This side could probably come in as well. So bringing it in, oh, we don't want to cut off that curve right there. Let's go right about there. And the other two look fine. I'm going to go ahead and click enter. Now, this is where I need to go to my width. And I'm going to type in what we just discussed, 9.848. Click enter. That took it to the 3.15, close enough, I like it. And really what you could do is you could save some pages. We could go ahead and have this one here. Let's go back to Cricut. Let's make this one small. Bring this one back in. Go back to our snipping tool again. So I unselected that. You don't want to have it selected. Unselect it. Do insert, screenshot, screen clipping. Go out here. And I'm good with that. Bring it down. About right there. There we go. Make it a little bit bigger. Voila. We're going to go and change the width on this one. Remember, we're going to do 13.5. Voila. And then what you would do is just slide it down and then go ahead and print one like this so that way you're not wasting paper, right? So I'm going to go ahead and print it like this. And then I'm going to delete this Macero and I'm going to get the rest of the word and just do it from the other end like this. And I'm going to print that side. And then I'm going to go ahead and print another one at the smaller dimensions. And I'm going to show you if this way works out or not. So just as a quick refresher on how you mirror your images, I go to File. I'm going to go to Print. This is how it's going to print out. When you're in your printer properties, just make sure you go to the More options and make sure that this mirror image is selected. So I'm going to go ahead and print this and I'll meet you guys over in the pressing corner. Okay, here we are in the pressing corner. I've got both of my images printed out and then I just turned on my heat press to 400 degrees. So I looked online to make sure what these should be at. So anytime that you guys are purchasing blanks, check the website. Most websites I purchase from will give you in the description how long you should press it for, the recommendations of the time that you press it for and the pressure. So for these pillows, oh, and while I'm thinking about it, they are $5.50 as of today, the date that I'm recording this video. But the description said to do a medium pressure, 400 degrees for 60 seconds. So I'm gonna lighten up my pressure just a tad, because I know I was pressing shirts last and they're gonna be a lot thinner than these thicker pillowcases. So the next thing I need to do, while it's heating up a little bit, I'm gonna cut around my images. So as you know, we're gonna do one with two sheets, put them together. We're gonna see if it works. I don't know if it's gonna work. And then I did one with just one sheet. So we'll see. obviously the benefit of having the 2 sheets is you're going to be able to have a larger image for this layout. However, I'm not sure how it's going to work out when we go to do a second press to press the name. I have a feeling it's not going to work, but guess what? That's what I'm here for. I am here to try these things so that you guys don't have to, and you won't have to ruin a project. I can ruin mine. You guys can learn from me and don't make my same mistakes. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut right along that line so that when I lay these up on the pillow, I can make sure that they're both aligned with each other. So just so you can kind of see what I did there, I'm just cutting right next to that red line so that when I lay it down, I know that that edge and that edge needs to match that edge. Hopefully that makes sense. I have never tried this before, you guys, ever. So, total experiment for me. So the first thing we need to do, just like with any other project, is we need to press the image. We need to pre-press the image to get any of that extra moisture out, as well as pre-shrink this image. I'm gonna get the zipper here. It was sticking out a little bit. I'm gonna shove the zipper inside the pillow, just so that I don't risk burning my fingers if I accidentally touch that, because that's probably gonna get hot. I'm gonna get a lint roller, and we're just gonna go ahead and lint roll. And like I said before, you definitely have 2 sides. If you guys watched my last video, we sublimated on a double-sided placemat. In fact, I have them right here if you guys want a sneak peek. Right here, they turned out adorable. They were double-sided placemats, also purchased from rtssublimation.com. So if you missed this tutorial, I'll make sure that I go ahead and link it up above. You guys can go ahead and check this one out. They turned out adorable. So the one thing I noticed, if anything's double layered, you want to press both sides, because with those, the one side shrunk and the other side was kind of bubbled up, and you could tell they weren't the same size. So I want to make sure that I'm going to press both sides of these pillowcases so that I don't have one that's super skinny or shrunk and the other side's still the full size. I don't need anything to cover these. I've got the Teflon paper that I've got one on the bottom and I've got the one on the top that I never remove. So I'm going to go ahead and press these for about 5 to 10 seconds each. It can be hot, so be very careful when you're removing it if you're not going to wear gloves. Especially on the zipper part. That part can definitely heat up and then it would probably burn you. Okay, now I don't think that there is any top, bottom, whatever. I think you can totally choose, but there is a zipper along one side. So if you want that zipper on the bottom and maybe on the back side, then, and you're not gonna press both sides, then just make sure you're paying attention to that when you go to press these. I'm gonna go ahead and do that now, and I'm not gonna do the back side in this video. I may decide to do it later. If I do, I'll make another video. But this one, we're going to do the 2 pieces. Making sure that I have, this is an M, so make sure you don't have it upside down and make it a W. I'm gonna go ahead and line it up, and then I'm gonna get these words, the name, and I'm just gonna kind of put it over the top to make sure that it's as far apart as I want it. That looks pretty darn good to me. Yeah, that actually looks really good. I don't think I need to move it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and tape it down. Everything that you guys see me using in any of my tutorials, I always try and leave a link in the description below. So if you're on an iPhone, there's just a little skinny strip that will say, like, I think it's a see more. You're gonna go ahead and click that, and then you will see a whole bunch of different links or websites where you can go and purchase all of these things that I'm using, including this heat resistant tape. You wanna make sure you're never using regular tape. It will be a hot mess. It will melt everywhere and your project will be ruined. So on things like this, you wanna make sure you're using heat resistant tape. And then this is one of my new favorite tools. It basically cuts your tape for you, so it's kind of nice. So let me show you what I did here. Here's the 2 different sides. They're not connected. I don't want them to be connected. And I showed you guys how I cut them so that we can make sure that they match up after I press. And then I'm going to be putting this on separately, right, like that. Now the question I had, is this going to be too wide for my press? Let's look and see. If it's too wide, I may have to press one side at a time. And it's not. It's super close, but it's going to work. If you guys remember, I think we did this 13.5 by 13.5. So really, if I did my measurements right and eyeballed it right, this is a 15 by 15 press, so it should absolutely fit. I went ahead and I pre-cut some butcher paper, and I'm just going to place it over top because I want to make sure that I'm protecting my Teflon paper and my press from getting sublimated on. I already adjusted my temperature, so we should be good to go. So wish me luck. Let's see how it turns out. As a reminder, don't ever reuse your top sheet. Sublimation ink comes through sublimation paper, unless you have special sublimation paper. Some don't, which you can check out knockcustoms.com. Their sublimation paper does not bleed through, which is pretty awesome. And this did not work at all. Not even a little bit. What happened? Well, that is interesting. It did not work at all. What on earth? Was my pressure not tight enough? Let me try again. And honestly, because it didn't work, like the print didn't even come through on my paper, so I am gonna reuse it. I'm gonna increase my pressure. Yeah, it's not working, you guys. I don't know what the deal is. Not working. That makes me so sad. Mwah, mwah, mwah. So I increased the pressure for the second press, and that absolutely helped. So I think it was not enough pressure. You know what I think it was? I think that this outside rim, so what's happening is when I put the pressure down, it's putting pressure on this outside rim here where the sewing is, and not putting enough pressure in the middle. So the workaround would be to use a heat pillow. Some people will get like a towel and fold a towel so that this section is higher. Let me just show you what happened. See how it's very faded? There was not enough pressure. The pressure was all along the edges. Like I can feel right here, there's a seam, and that seam made it so that I didn't have enough pressure on the center part. So learn another lesson from Emma. Always pay attention to your seams, and if you're not going to have enough pressure, then you need to use either a towel underneath it around the perimeter, but not on the seam, so that the seams go down and the image comes up. I hope that makes sense. You know what though? I'm going to keep playing with this. I'm still going to try and put the Macero on it because that's my whole point. I wanted to see if this would work in two parts with two separate presses so that I can get the bigger image. So let's just keep going. What I'm going to do is I do have a pressing pillow here somewhere. Let's see if I can find it. Where did I put it? Well, I cannot find my pressing pillow in this mess of a room I have right now. So I'm going to use my smaller pressing pillow, which will work fine for what we're going for right now. Let's make sure it's the same length. Yeah, that'll be fine for what we're trying today. I have a little bit of a bigger pillow, which would have been perfect for this project, and I'm going to keep looking for it so that we can use it on the next press. But for right now, just because we're putting on this Macero, I'm going to go ahead and lay it down. So hopefully you guys can see from there. If I hold this pillow down, you can see when my pressure stops. In fact, let me just bring it over. When I push my pressure down, there's the pillow right there. So these sides are going to be down, and anything on right here is going to actually be pressed. So it's super important that if you're pressing an entire image, you have like a blanket or a towel or a heat pillow that fits right within that design, but leaves the outside perimeter down. I hope I'm explaining that well enough. So let's go ahead and just try this. Again, this is not gonna be a final pillow. This is my testing pillow since I already messed it up. Try something like that. Now what we need to do, because we've already sublimated, I don't want any of that to come back up. So I'm gonna make sure that I cover the entire surface so that it doesn't come up on my Teflon sheet. And this one is going to definitely be less pressure because I'm now adding that extra space of the pillow. So let's try it and see. I should tape down this image. Yep, I should. I don't want it to shift. Even though this is just a test, I still don't want it to shift. Haha, I found it. So we definitely want to use that for this one. See, that'll be perfect. It fits it perfectly. Okay, a moment of truth to see if double pressing works. Now keep in mind, anytime you double press, you are going to risk color coming back up. So you guys can see how some of that sublimation print came back up. You are gonna risk that when you double press. Hey, this totally worked. Hey, this totally worked. Yes, there you go. So don't mind the fading. That had nothing to do with pressing it twice. That had to do with not enough pressure the first go around. So, but now I know for sure, if I would have used a bigger pillow underneath this from the start, I wouldn't have any fading and this would have turned out adorable. So cute. Awesome. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This is the one that only fits to one sheet, which was 11 by 17. And let's just see how this one turns out. Now, a few different things you could do. You could shove this down inside the pillowcase, or in my case, I'm just gonna put it on the back. But the first thing we need to do is pre-press this one. Okay, now that we've pressed both sides, we're gonna go ahead and add on our image, making sure that it's right side up. And you could either get a measuring tape and measure that it's center, or in my case, I usually just eyeball it, and I do pretty good. I get it pretty close. Definitely want to tape my image down so that it doesn't have any shifting during the sublimation process. Now, if you guys are new to sublimations, new to my channel, I do have, I believe, 2 other tutorials. I'll go ahead and I'll link one above. That's questions and answers about sublimating. So maybe check that video out. It will help answer a lot of your questions. Okay, I'm just using my fingers to fill for that pillow, making sure that the image is completely on the pillow. And like I was telling you guys before, what this is going to do is I'm going to push the pressure down, and it's only going to put pressure right on the image, and it's going to push these sides down. So it's going to work out much better this time. Make sure we put our butcher paper on. I'm going to release the pressure just a tad. Perfect. We'll see how this one turns out. All right, let's hope that did the trick, you guys. It did. We learned together, right? Absolutely. Take this off. Before it cools down, I'm gonna hurry and get my lint roller, and I'm gonna roll the edges, because right now you can see the outline of the print. And when it's nice and warm, if you roll along where you see those indents, it just brings them right back up, pops them right back up. And right now I cannot see that indent anymore. How adorable is that? And honestly, I'm okay with this size. I am totally okay with the size. I don't feel like it has to be bigger. It turned out so cute. So that is the trick. Let's compare the two. If you want to do one bigger, absolutely can. As a reminder, I cut it in half. This one was 13.5 as far as how big it is. This one was about a little bigger than 10.5, so that it could fit on my 11 by 17 sheet. I just like the fact that I only had to use one sheet for this one, where this one I had to use 2. Now they're both adorable. You could do whatever you want. The whole reason I wanted to try this though was honestly as an experiment to see if we could add the black on after on a second press. It totally worked. And this one would be perfect if I would have remembered that I needed to have the pillow underneath it to make sure that we have equal pressure on this whole print area. So with all that said, what do you guys think? Do you like the larger image or the smaller image better? And are you guys going to be trying something similar? So if you guys do, make sure that you guys share it in our Facebook group at Emma's Cottage DIY. And then also, as a reminder, this is a 2-part video. So we have the pillowcases that we just sublimated, and then the next video, which will be linked right after this one, will be for the blankets, where we're going to do the HTV lettering on the blankets. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. But the most important thing, you guys, is make sure that you click that bell so that you will get notified anytime that I upload a new video. As always, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we'll see you later.